Greetings and salutations, my friends. I'm so glad that you have found today's episode of Forte Catholic. I'm Taylor Schroll, if you haven't been listening for a while, and I'm the captain around here. But as we learn in today's episode, being the captain doesn't mean that you're loved. It just means that you have to pull everything together. If you enjoyed today's episode of us here at Forte Catholic trying to make Catholicism fun again, trying to bring the joy of the gospel to you, if you feel like we did that, hit the subscribe button, whether you are listening on podcast or watching on YouTube. You can follow us at Forte Catholic on social media as well. But the most important thing is to hit the subscribe button wherever you are watching or listening. Allison and I had a great time recording this, and we have a guest on the show for the first time in quite a while, so I hope that you enjoy it. What's up? And welcome to Forte Catholic. I am Taylor Schroll. That is Allison Sullivan.
Hi,
Hello.
Taylor. How's it going?
I'm doing much better than I was yesterday when we were supposed to record this.
Yes, you are indeed. You look a lot better.
Thank you.
Brighter-eyed, bushier
I
tailed.
look 5% good looking instead of the 2.5 that I looked yesterday. So we have been recording this show for a long time. We've been recording at this house for a long time.
Indeed.
And
Those things are true.
I'm not lying this early in the podcast.
Not yet.
Stay tuned.
It's early. Give him a minute.
Speaking of it being early, yesterday, it wasn't early. We were going to record at like 10 a.m.
Not relatively. I mean, to normal folks.
And my wife came into my room and just goes, Taylor! I'm like, what? Like, literally, I'm dead asleep at 10 o'clock in the morning. And I freak out. I walk over, like, you're here, like, ready to go. I look like I just awoke from death. Like,
Allison
Jesus.
Sullivan was sitting in your little family room with your little family.
And you were, I think you said something like, you look like death.
Yeah,
So
like, this isn't happening.
The first words I heard in my day were, Taylor! And you look like death from two of the most important women in my life.
Here's the thing, is that you were willing to, like, keep going. You were willing to let the show go on. And I'm like, I'm going to go ahead and relieve us both. I don't think this is happening today.
Yeah, and you were right.
Yeah.
I looked at myself in the mirror at like 2:30 p.m. and I was like, I look good enough now.
I think it would have been a really awkward, slow going show.
I don't. It's because I can turn it. Here's the thing. I could turn my personality on 3 seconds after I wake up.
Yeah.
I just can't turn my face on.
Right.
Like,
you can't will your eyes to depuff. You can't control swelling.
Right.
Yeah. Well, that's okay. This is great. I feel I'm in a better mood actually too. So
Good.
So it was for me too. But all that to say, to your point, we've been doing this a very long time, and that has happened nary. Like,
I don't know what that word means. And the hand gesture didn't help either.
I told you did not make old jokes for me today because I don't feel quite at my best. But
wow, you're real sensitive today because
a little bit.
I didn't even make an old joke.
I know, but I could sense it coming with the nary. Yeah, but no, you've never slept in, not one time.
And you are so gracious. And the thing I'm most impressed with is, like, we wanted to talk about your shoes.
Oh yeah, you were afraid you were going to miss this opportunity.
I took your shoes. For those of you watching, these are the shoes that Allison is wearing today, and they were the shoes that she was wearing yesterday, and that's the shirt you were wearing yesterday. And I believe they're the same jeans. Maybe you changed the jeans.
Okay, but
you can't, like, that was the thing I felt most bad about. Is like, you came prepared. You're wearing your Forte Catholic shirt, and these ridiculous slippers.
Here's what I love. I love that you saw an outfit. Because here's what's happening. This was the first shirt that I pulled on. I threw on an old pair of jeans, and then these are really kind of technically slippers. Now they do have a sole, which is why I'm allowed to wear them outside. But this is like a house shoe.
Shoes don't have soles, and neither do your pants.
Well, take it up with this little happy furry being that makes me happy as well. And you, since you wanted to highlight it on your show.
It's why you wore them. Let's be real. You wanted me to call you out on them. There's no other reason to wear those shoes.
They've put us both in a good mood, so I might wear them again.
Something else that put you in a good mood recently, and this is where I feel like we've the first segment of the last like 3 shows that you've done. So like we do one a month with you, and
true.
To the last 3, I feel like the first segment of this show is how you update people on your life because you don't have your podcast anymore. Like, yeah, you have social media. You can kind of tell people, but like saying with words to the public.
Yes.
I kind of feel like this is like the Allison Sullivan podcast that I'm hosting for like a few minutes.
Okay. Well, that's sweet of you to give me all this airtime, Taylor. And that your listeners have become my listeners. It's just so great.
They 100%
no one cares
more than me.
P.S. No one cares.
I think we ranked like who's the favorite. Maybe like half a year ago. And like I think it's you and Anthony.
Okay.
And then like,
hold on, for you or for the people?
For the people.
Okay.
For
that's
me,
so sweet. Thank you, Taylor's
pretty
people.
Similar. But like I think a lot of people love Anthony, a lot of people love you. And I think it's probably pretty even of like you or Anthony are the favorite of a lot of people. And then like, Liv and John. And then like me at the bottom is the only thing that's like certain. Like,
I love your comfortability with that. It's great. Yes. Well, and I don't even use social media appropriately. Like I don't post enough to anyways have any kind of platform. So I just appreciate that people listen and care. But yes, so I think you are getting at that I just got back from LA and you haven't heard about it yet.
I haven't, and the people haven't, because last month you were on, you were preparing for this trip.
Yes.
And the month before, you had just gotten word you were going on this trip.
Yes,
so
it's
now
true. Yeah,
it's
you're
the culmination
right.
of 3 months of
I
Forte
see.
Catholic.
And so we just owe it to the people to tell them what happened. I mean, it's just wouldn't even be nice.
Right. So you went to Hollywood.
We did.
Los Angeles.
We did.
To become the next Sandra Bullock.
Okay.
I think that's like, I mean, I can see you like having a large black man football player that you adopt.
Okay,
into
so
your home.
someone that I was in LA with has done the Face app, like the Reface thing with Jennifer Aniston on Friends, and I make a lovely Rachel, as it turns out. I should show you. Anyways, okay.
I mean,
I digress.
We've talked a lot about like how you grew up. I think you and Rachel Green were the same person in high school.
Maybe it could be possible. Although I got more comparisons to Monica. So, anyways, none of this matters.
You're not
we're
enough to be Monica.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm annoying myself right now. All the digressing. So, LA was fantastic. Very short recap is that my son and I started just creating on TikTok and had a blast with that. And so then simultaneously we were in acting classes just because it was COVID and why not? And that all culminated with a trip to LA. And the whole point is that you put on a showcase, the scene you've been practicing, and you put that show on in front of agents and managers. And then you just sit in LA and wait for callbacks. And we got plenty.
Oh, you poor thing. We had to hang out in LA for a while.
At the Beverly Hilton. It was terrible. Mark Wahlberg was there, by the way.
Really?
I know. I did not see him, but other people did. We saw Drake. He was at our hotel. Yeah. So anyways, I love LA. There's just something about it. It's like the misfits and the dreamers. I mean, everybody that's there has some creative ambition. I just love LA's energy. So
I feel like LA is where dreams go to be fulfilled or die.
Like
there's no in between.
Yes.
Like it's like I want to be the next Sandra Bullock, or like you're fine because like you have a life here. But
sure,
like,
you don't
need
it. Yeah,
and it's like I'm gonna wait tables at Denny's or become the next Sandra
Bullock.
Yes,
right. But and I love just the place that my son and I were at in particular, where it's like we're doing it for the love of it, and whatever happens here, it doesn't really matter all that much. And I realize
because you already have 11.8 million likes on TikTok. That's when I was on my phone looking.
Oh gosh. Oh right. Well, no, but it's.
I mean,
also
how many
because
movies get 11.8 million views? Not many movies. I mean, some of Wahlberg's, but
well, yeah, right. But there's no necessitating a certain outcome. Like it doesn't really matter. It's really just for the joy of it. It's really just for the love of it.
You did learn acting because I think you're lying right now and you're pulling it off really well.
No, it's not true. I really feel like the whole process, like going, being in acting classes, being in LA with my kid, putting on a scene that I've rehearsed for 6 months, all of that, just the process of it, not the outcome, was absolutely exhilarating. And if we left with nada, it would have been just this awesome experience that I got to do with my son. I mean, come on. Except we did leave with an agent and a manager. So so yay.
So this is your last show with me, right?
No,
you're too big now.
Never. I'm bringing you with me. I'm gonna going to insist that other people like you.
Yeah.
Give him a minute. He'll grow on you.
Zach Galifianakis and Jack Black are getting old. It's time for Taylor to take the reins.
Totally. So yeah, so we had a great time. We got a lot of callbacks, really sweet. I was able, so here's the feedback I got a lot, which was, oh my gosh, I can't believe that this is your first time acting. You know, you've done such a great job. If Hollywood were looking for middle-aged white women with zero experience, you would be perfect. So there were a lot of people that called me back just to say, hey, you're doing a great job. Keep at it. We have no positions for you. Like we have no room for you at all, but way to go. Yeah. And so then I was in interviews with Silas because Silas got a lot of callbacks.
Never mind.
No.
I was about to make a joke that you would have gotten offended by because of the mood that you're in today. And I'm not going to.
Look at you respecting my boundary. What? Did y'all hear that? Taylor just respected the boundary. But so Silas got a lot of callbacks.
It wasn't even like a direct age joke. It was like, she's going to insinuate this as an age joke. And therefore, I cannot
It's
say
like a boundary of the boundary. So I was sitting in on interviews for Silas as his parent, obviously. And so then people...
Also acting.
A little bit. Because like people that did not call me back, I'm sitting in an interview as his mom and they're like, wait.
How did you get back in here? Security! We told you no.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. I insist on you. So anyways, but I would be sitting in the interview and they'd be like, wait. And then they would kind of change their mind about me after this interview. So that was kind of fun because I ended up securing an agent that I did not get a call back for because they just saw our family together because by that point Seth was there too. And so they were like, wait, we see some family opportunities here. But just little things came up where it was like, so to be someone was like, are you interested in reality TV? Like, you know, for our family. And I'm like, no, not happening. Why? Because happiness isn't a story. And I am not interested in you like throwing this little fake bomb into our family to watch how we all react to it. And then all of us end up in therapy. I mean, it's
the bomb. The reality show is Taylor comes over every day.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That's hysterical. So, but, and so they were like, okay, wise and good point. Yes. Like we respect that. But there's some scripted things and we're like, now we're talking. So anyways, people get mad at us on TikTok because we script our things out and they like think that all TikToks should be organic because we're all just filming every second of our lives. It makes no sense. It's bizarre.
I don't think any TikTok that I have seen is not scripted.
Of course.
I think y'all just telegraph it a little bit more.
Right. Well, and that's fine.
But one of my favorite ones is ever since y'all went to LA, your husband has like almost never been on the TikTok.
Right.
And I think he caught the bug.
A little bit.
Because he's been like the focus of the last few.
The last couple.
And like everyone, like I knew that you were lurking in the background about to come into the video and be mean. Like I saw it coming and I'm like, she thought it's going to be mean. And there you were being mean.
Look at you. You could write for us.
I don't know. Y'all are doing a pretty good job on your own.
So it was great. We had a great time. I love LA. One thing that was really exciting for me just as a parent is watching Silas unfold a little bit with a new group of friends. So he's been in private school his whole life and he has wonderful friendships. They've been together since the first grade. And I don't want to say a but because it's not a but. He has really wonderful friends.
Some of them are butts.
But there was something about getting together as artists. I'd really like a different connector because but kind of like, anyways.
I mean, it is what connects the top and lower half.
Okay. But coming together as these little creators, these little young creators, and so much. Sorry, I spit. There's so much of how
no one would have.
I know, but you did.
I did,
and I have to look at you.
Invisible.
Okay, so coming together as little artists, little creators, so much of their connection is based on acceptance because the truth is they're all a little quirky. They're all a little weird. And I just loved how kind they were together. Like they would get together in the courtyard and they would play America's Got Talent. And then instead of like being on video games or whatever, they would do little talent shows. And so I just loved him finding friends that he could unfold a little with and be more expressive. And so that was really fun. And it made me think about my own friendships. Like, what's the bottom line of my friendships. Like, what's that one thing that connects us? Like in that group for him, it was acceptance. Like we all just kind of accept each other the way we are. And for his group at school, it's probably nostalgia. Like we've been together forever, you know? And so I was thinking
Not
like
Catholicism at the Catholic Church. Interesting.
That too. I mean, but my friendships
based on the nostalgia. It's fine.
My friendships are it's about support. Like we are all if we're like in an inner circle together, it's about support. Like we cheerlead really well, and then in faith, obviously. So faith and support. But I kind of wanted to ask you that if you when you think about your inner circle, what are the things that y'all both hold? I know. I thought you might have fun with this.
I know it. I mean, I know what the answer is.
What?
It's definitely not as good as yours.
It's not support and faith.
It's this podcast.
It's irreverence.
No, like my best. You live, Anthony, John.
Yeah.
My wife and my best friend. Like,
okay, but get underneath that. Get underneath that though. What is it about the show that's connecting us then?
Connecting back to something that you said earlier, realizing that I'm talented enough, but not talented enough. So I need to surround myself with
interesting.
people more talented and more liked than me. That way I can succeed along with them.
I all of a sudden feel so used.
Well, all of you should. It's funny. So because of you, we'll come back to LA. But one of the things that we are now doing is these Forte flashbacks on the show.
Yes.
Because of you. Like you told me a couple months ago, you were like, because, you know, you and I are doing show prep. I'm like, oh, I've told that story before. Oh, I've told that story before. And you were like, it was 4 years ago. No one remembers.
No one cares.
And I was like, oh, okay. So let's re-release all of, like, it started off, I was like, oh, I think you meant just retell the story. But I'm like, well, I already told it then. Why not just re-release it? Right?
Yeah,
and
right.
So I've been doing that with all the co-hosts. And like, going back. And what's fun for me is going back and like re-listening to like the beginnings of these. And Father Anthony listened to his the other day. Yeah. And he said, oh, look, like that was back then when you were using me for my Twitter clout. Because back then, he had like 18,000 people on Twitter. This before he, you know, but then he came on as a guest of the show. We started becoming friends off the air in our private life. That's what we like to call it. and then like, here we are today, last week, where I released that flashback of Anthony's first appearance as a guest, and he's like, he texted me something along the same lines. It's like, that's when you were like using me, and now we're like real friends because he deleted his Twitter account.
Now I like you.
So there's no clout.
Yeah, right.
And we are like real friends now. Yeah. So I think it is kind of funny how like, oh, a lot of like stuff is kind of like, oh, I hopefully a lot of friendships start, I think. You can bring me benefit, and I think I can bring you benefit. Right. That would be nice. We enjoy each other's company. Or like with Anthony, it's like, oh, come on the show. Yes. And it's like, oh, we actually like each other. Yeah. Like I've had 200 guests on the show. I'm friends with like 4. You know, like some people.
But here's the thing, Taylor. You wouldn't keep us around if we didn't enjoy. If you weren't enjoying this, you would make a change. So there's something you enjoy. There's something you enjoy about all of us. Yeah. That's what I want to know.
I think it is the joy thing. I think I heard a joke, and maybe I'm deflecting a little bit, but I heard a joke the other day about an older guy, like older for dating, I guess. He's in his 40s. Okay. And he was talking about being an older guy that's dating, and he's just kind of tired of the game. Like the game was always, for sure, you go up to these girls, you talk to like a group of girls for like 20, 30 minutes, and then you're like, oh, I like this one the best. Yeah. And then you buy her a drink, and then hopefully y'all go talk somewhere else, right? Yeah. He was saying that when he got older, he would buy a drink, walk up to a group of women, and then just be like, which one of you likes me?
Oh my gosh, let's be more efficient here.
There's a drink for the winner.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
Feel like that is one of the biggest things. Like, I'm hard to like, and you guys like me. Yeah. So it's easy to like you.
Aw, I like that. You know what? I had a friend who took her children to an animal shelter. Hang with me.
We're both taking like weird tangents that are somehow tying back to the main storyline.
She took her, and so they were going to get a cat that day, and so they were sitting in the cat room, and they were all just as one does, and the cats were all and so her daughter connected with this cat. She was like, "I love this cat. It's this cat," and so her mom was like, "What do you like about it?" And she thought about it a second, and she shrugged her shoulders, and she said just that. She said, I guess just because it likes me,
right, yeah.
And but my friend made this important, she rooted it down with, what if we were all just supportive of one another? Like, what if I just inherently tried to like you? What would the world look like if we just extended that? I'm going to like you first. That's what's going to happen. And then look at all these relationships, because it's all anybody ever wants is to just be accepted. So anyways, I think that's an excellent reason. I think that's a great answer.
So what you're saying is I need to completely change everything that I'm doing. Because what I said is I like people because they like me first. But you're telling me that I need to like people first.
Yeah, no, yes. Isn't that just so? What we're craving is what we should give out. Be the change. We need to look for the good. You're going to find the bad. It's there. It's just
hard.
Yeah, no, it's not hard. So, yeah, no, I think that's a really honest answer, Taylor, as much as you were uncomfortable with it.
We have to get out of the segment because I just realized that it probably comes from junior high and no one liking me. So the first friends that I had were the people that liked me. So we got to get out of this before I get sad. We'll be right back. Speaking of guests and interviews, we haven't had one in a very long time. But Allison's going to take a little break. Oh, okay.
I thought you were high-fiving me.
I
would never leave you hanging.
Okay. Do it again. Okay, good. I have a guest, and you might know this guy, not you, because you don't live on the internet. He was a guest on a lot of podcasts last year, Coach Kramer Soderberg, and I kind of missed the boat. I was like, you've already been on everybody else's podcast. I was like, let's wait, and when we both know that we have something new to say, because a lot of times when people are doing interviews, especially based on a book, it's always kind of the same thing over and over again. So I was like, I don't want to just do that, because a lot of people that listen to this show listen to a bunch of other shows that he was on. So let's wait till we have something new and different. So we waited a year, and now he's on. And
Yay!
I really enjoyed the conversation. So don't go anywhere, and then Allison will be back for our final segment. As the world is continuing to open back up, a lot of people really have the itch to start traveling again. If you want to travel and do a pilgrimage, particularly, Select International Tours has tours going all over the place right now. You can go and check out some of the coolest religious sites throughout all of the world. And to find out more information, head on over to fortecatholic.com/tours. You can see all of the great tours that they have planned right now. Do it! fortecatholic.com/tours. Welcome back to Forte Catholic. I am Taylor Schroll, and I am doing something we haven't done in quite some time. We're doing an interview today. I kicked the co-host out, and it is just me and a fellow coach. Now, granted, he's much more decorated as a coach than me at our local small Catholic school. But Kramer Soderberg, who you may have heard of last year, he came out with a new book and kind of did the rounds on Catholic radio and Catholic podcasting. And we met then, and I was like, you know what? Let's wait a year until kind of the buzz dies down, and then we will recreate your buzz here at Forte Catholic.
Do it.
Coach Soderberg, how are you today, sir?
Taylor, thanks for having me, man. A pleasure to be here. It's been a long time coming.
It really has. And it was so funny because I've told many people yes to do an interview for the show. And then I used to not tell many people no. And then now for the last year, all I've done is tell people no, because we have had 2 or 3 guests this year. So you are one of the lucky ones or one of the cursed ones. We'll find out, I guess.
Well, you're such a stud, man. Everybody's flocking to you.
No, it's just one of those things. It's I was like, look, man, we've got it going so well with the co-hosts. We had some guests that I didn't enjoy dealing with, so I was just like, let's just not deal with any of them. I didn't like, we talked about gambling a couple weeks ago. I didn't like gambling with the show. Is the show going to go well?
Sure.
But like I do with most people that reach out, I stalked you for a while, and I heard you go on a bunch of other podcasts, and I really enjoyed it. And I'm like, well, whenever we do an interview, I like to do something a little different. And I kind of missed the boat. It was my fault. I like being one of the first people that interviews somebody. And I missed the boat on you. So I'm like, let's wait a year. And sure enough, like to the minute, you messaged me and you're like, it's been a year. Let's do this. I'm like, okay.
It's go time, Taylor. Quit dodging me. No, this is a lot of pressure, man. You've been holding out on the guests and now you're bringing me in. Oh, I better get it together. So I'm ready.
Well, if you mess it up, I won't have another guest for 2 years.
Exactly.
So it's all riding on your broad shoulders.
Everybody watching who wants to be on your podcast is holding their breath right now.
Yeah. They're strangely enough rooting for you.
Yeah.
So you are a college basketball coach. You've been in college basketball for years, but also you've been around college basketball for even longer because of your dad and his coaching. So you just got a new job, or not a new job, but you got promoted. So tell us why I'm calling you coach, because it's a weird thing to call another grown human being on a podcast.
Yeah. Well, no, it's nice because if you forever forget my name, coach works for everything. But I've been at Millikan University in Decatur, Illinois for the last 6 years as an assistant coach. And I just got hired as the head coach.
Woo!
Man, I'm a pretty young guy too. So I'm only 32 years old. So getting an opportunity as a head coach at the college basketball level is exciting for me, and I'm excited about it. And it's going to be a great challenge, but challenges are good. Challenges are good.
That's awesome. Like I really, it's so funny because like maybe subconsciously I didn't want to interview an assistant coach on this show.
Yeah,
maybe that's what it was. When the assistant coach writes a book, it's one thing, but when the head coach has a book, it's a tell-all.
Now we're talking.
So you grew up, you talk about your dad in the book and how he's been coaching. Like for those that don't know, he was he's assistant coach at Virginia, who just won the national championship a couple of years ago.
Yep.
So you have been around coaching for a long time, and obviously it had an impact on you because now you are doing it. So why coaching? Like, why did you choose it? What did your dad do that made you want to choose to be like, you know what, I want to do that too, Dad?
Yeah, that's a good question. There's an old saying in the coaching son world where if you're a coach's son, you either are in love with it or you run away from it, So
Right.
I happen to be one of those guys who, being in the gym as a young kid, just kind of fell in love with the game and always knew that I wanted to get into coaching. Obviously, I had aspirations to have a great playing career. And I did. I had a good playing career, high school and college. But I kind of always knew I wanted to get into coaching. And I was one of those coaches' sons who fell in love with the game. And that kind of led me to the coaching world. And it's good. I'm glad I don't have to sit in a cubicle and, sit behind a desk or wear a tie every day. I get to wear shorts and a t-shirt and running shoes every day. So that works for me.
You and I have something in common. We were talking a little bit before the show about how, you were talented, but a shorter white man to play basketball. I too was talented, but a shorter white man to play basketball. So I was very skilled as a small forward, but and 6'2" as a small forward in high school was pretty good.
Yep.
And then, maybe as a freshman and sophomore, then they start getting 6'5", 6'8", 6'9",
Exactly.
and now we have people like Kevin Durant in the NBA, 7 foot, playing the position that I play. I'm like, yeah, I'm not tall enough. So it is funny because like it's one of the same reasons that I got into coaching. It's like I had to outwork a lot of people who were more talented, more physically gifted, in order to have the amount of success that I did at that level. And you were saying the same kind of thing. And it is funny that we both got into coaching because like I was asking you before we got on, I wanted to talk about coaching seems so daunting. Like, and I've been doing it for 6 years. It still seems daunting. Like, I'm in charge of an entire team. Like, how do you even start? How do you start the first year? How did you start a season? You're going into this first season as the head coach. So like one of like my like maxims, like the things that I like, we are like, my team is going to outwork everybody else because that's who I was as an athlete.
Yep.
So what are like the core things for you as a coach that you want to make sure that you get across to the young men on your team?
Yeah. I mean, I've had the privilege to be around some great coaches. Obviously my dad has been a big inspiration for me and helps me in a ton of categories. And then I've coached under a lot of other good coaches, and you take ideas, good and bad, from the coaches that you're around.
Right.
I've been able to do that, and that's been good. But I think the most important thing for any coach, no matter the sport, is when you first take over a program, you have to create a culture a certain culture that you want, and that culture has to be defined by what's important to you. So, and then once you kind of give that culture to your program, to your players, and they learn to embody it and learn to take it on as their own, that's when you're going to find great success. I think, Xing and Oing and what do you do defensively, offensively, all that's important. But if you don't have a great culture built around really sound things, it's going to be hard to be successful. So that for me is what I started with my team. Our first meeting was only about that, was about our culture, what this program is going to be about.
And what were some of those things? Like, what are those bedrock foundational things for you as a coach and that culture you're trying to create?
So we have what I am calling our 5 pillars of success. And in coaching is a copycat thing.
I thought you were Catholic.
I'm
You've got your
Catholic.
pillars now.
No, coaching is a copycat world. So I played under my dad, who used these 5 pillars. He coached with a man who created these 5 pillars. And the 5 pillars are humility, passion, unity, servanthood, and thankfulness. Those 5 things. So humility, know who you are. So I told our young men, be humble enough to know who you are, know your strengths, and know your weaknesses, know what things you can bring to our program and what things, that you have to figure out and get better at that might hurt our program. Passion, don't be lukewarm. Okay. I don't want lukewarm players in my program. I want guys who want to become the best players they can be, who aren't wishy-washy. I could play, but if I didn't, it's no big deal. I want passionate guys who aren't lukewarm. Unity, don't divide our house. I want guys who unite our program instead of separating it. I told our players, everything they do either unites us or divides us. And I want them constantly thinking about, how am I going to unite this team? How am I going to bring guys closer together? Servanthood, team ahead of self. Everything I do is for the betterment of the team, not betterment of myself. And then thankfulness in all circumstances. And I think that probably is the most challenging one. It's easy to be thankful when things are going well. I told our guys, when you're playing 30 minutes a game and averaging 20, yeah, it's easy to be thankful. But when you're only playing 2 minutes a game and you're not getting the burn you want, or coach yelled at you at practice, it's harder to be thankful then. But I want guys who are always thankful in all circumstances. And those 5 things, those pillars are what I'm building my culture around. And I told our guys, if you can, as individuals, and as we can as a team, learn to embody those pillars, to strive to embody those to the best of our ability, we will be successful. So that,
I love that. And it's funny because I have talked about just my coaching here at the local level on the show quite a bit. And it's funny because I literally I was talking about humility at the end of our season, this last season. And so as a track coach, we get the amount of points that the person who gets 8th place is the same amount of points that is the difference between 3rd and 4th and 2nd and 3rd and 1st and 2nd, right? So everybody's able to play their role. And I'm telling my superstars, you need to work to get from 2nd to 1st, but that's the same improvement for the overall team as the guy getting 9th and no points to getting up into 8th, right? Correct. And so having that humility to know hey, look, the guy getting 8th place, he could want to give up, but that's one of the big things that I hammer into him. It's look, you're going to hurt the rest of the team if you get 9th instead of 8th and that sort of thing. And then your second pillar, I was just talking on the show a couple months ago, maybe just a few weeks ago, just about how I can't stand it when people don't want to get better. You have to have that passion, the desire to want to get better. Yeah. So it was funny because I was I was hearing those things and I'm okay, those 2, we have a lot in common. The other 3, everybody has their different pillars and things that are important to them. But as I was listening to your list, one of the big things that you talk about is that what's interesting about you is that you are in the college basketball. I was about to say professional, but now that name, image, and likeness, maybe it is professional basketball. Who even knows? But as a college basketball coach, these are the things that are important to you and you're trying to instill that in the program. And then here I am thinking like, oh, those are the 5 pillars for like how to live in a Catholic community. Like, you are rare in that you are a Catholic coach who is very vocal about it. Not there are a ton of other Catholic coaches that are less vocal about it, but like you wrote a book about it, like you're focusing on these things. So let's go through those 5 things. For those who are listening, because not everybody listening are college basketball players. Most are, but not everybody listening is. Let's go through those 5 things, because humility, granted, very important for our faith. What do you say about that?
Yeah, just like you said, all these pillars are straight from the Bible. All these pillars are things that are so biblical and so important to to our spiritual life, and that starting with humility, I mean, understanding what we are, in the face, standing before Christ, understanding that we are sinners, and understanding that without our Savior, we have no chance. I always am amazed, reading, lives of the saints and what they do. And it's so interesting that the closer that people come to holiness, the closer that people get to holiness, the more aware of their sinfulness they are, and they always say the saints they're going to confession every other day. They're going to get once a week. I mean, it's like, and me, who should be going to confession every other day, only goes once a month, So I think that idea of humility is so important in our spiritual walk. And as you get closer to holiness, as you get closer to Christ, you become more aware of your sinfulness and more aware of your need for the Savior. And it's interesting that way with following the saints.
Yeah, for sure. And that reminds me of something else that you said in the book, by the way, which is called Fill Your Cup for Christ by Kramer Soderberg. With the humility piece, you talk about like what different type of players want to hear, because you have an assortment of players. You have your superstars, you have your role players, and you have your guy who might get in if you're winning or losing by 30. So what do those types of players want to hear, need to hear, and what does that say for us in our spiritual lives? Yeah,
so there's an old saying in college basketball, or probably in sports in general, is bad players want to be left alone, good players want to be coached, and great players want to be told the truth. And for me, I've been coaching for 10 years now, and you see it so often. The ones who never improve, the ones who don't become the best they can be, those are the guys who just stay away from me, coach. Or every time you try to coach them, they block you out and they shun you away, and they just want to follow the path that they think is right. If they think they should be playing this way, they're going to play this way. If they think they should be working out this many hours a day, they're going to do it. And they take no coaching whatsoever. They just want to be left alone. The good players, I've noticed, are the ones who, they accept coaching, they like it, but only if it's conducive to what they want to hear. They like the coach to, hey, great job, Johnny, nice shot, keep doing that, what you're doing. Or they like that encouragement, that coaching motivational side that is positive. And then the great players, the ones that exceed their potential, the ones that go beyond, everyone else, those are the guys who just desire truth. Coach, tell me the truth. Even if it's hard, even if I don't want to hear it, even if it makes me feel bad, tell me the truth about how I'm playing, how I need to get better. And then they take that truth from the coach and they use it to become the best they can be. And man, how connected that is to the spiritual life, I think is pretty profound.
Right. It's interesting because I'm thinking of like the toughest decisions that I've had with guys that I've coached were in those top 2 categories, and they went very differently. One, like the good players, when I told them the hard truth, like we just hit a point where it was like, look, man, like you think that you're one of the fastest people in the state, and you're not. Like, we're going to have to do something else. And it shuts them down. And like sometimes they even want to quit. Exactly. Right. But I have guys who, and I love it when they can do this. I will tell them, look, right now, you're like the 5th best in the state. And if you want to be, you have a chance to maybe get 3rd, to maybe sneak in and get a medal at the state meet. And we have that hard truth. And they might be upset with me for a little while. Or like I've even had guys where it was like, look, you think you're good at this, but you're actually really good at this thing that you hate doing.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and they do that thing, and instead of getting 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, they end up getting a medal at state because they took in that hard truth.
Yep.
And there was that trust. And ultimately, like the thing that sticks with me so much is ultimately they were so upset when they heard, not so upset, but they were kind of sad when they heard the truth, right? But they internalized it, and they were ultimately happier at the end, right? They were happier when they got that medal at state, when they did way better than they would have doing the other thing, or if they wouldn't have worked as hard. And I think about that a lot when it comes to like growing in holiness. It's like we all do. I think that I'm going to be less happy if I stop focusing on the things that I think bring me happiness, video games and movies and hanging out.
Yep.
But like hearing the hard truth of like, like growing your faith, like ultimately you're going to be happier then. It's like, what? Really? No way. But yeah, we really will be.
Right. No, I mean, just thinking back on my spiritual walk, I can see myself in all three of those categories throughout my journey. When I was early on, as most, I'm a cradle Catholic kid, as most young kids, when it comes to their faith, just leave me alone, right? Mom and dad, stop nagging me, leave me alone. I don't want to go to mass. I don't want to do this. I don't want to hear anything about it. Leave me alone. I'll follow my own path. Then a little bit later on, you start getting, interested in Jesus and learn a bit more about that. And I wanted to hear those things, but I only wanted to hear the good things. Jesus, he loves me. He died for me. All that stuff is good. Just love your neighbor and you're going to be good.
But also you killed him.
And then finally for me, I got to that point where I started to want to be great in the spiritual realm. And that's when I desired truth. Okay. No, tell me the truth. I need to go to confession. I need the Eucharist. I need daily adoration, so on and so forth. Yeah, that makes things quite a bit harder. But once you get to that point where you're striving to be great, then you just desire truth, and then you use that truth to help you get where you want to go. But yeah, I can, and I'm sure most people in their spiritual walks can kind of walk through that bad player, good player, great player kind of.
Right. Yeah. It's one of my favorite things about coaching because it's really not all that hard to make the to make the connections to faith stuff.
Oh yeah.
I want to close with this. So the thing that has impacted me personally the most from things that I've heard you say was around the topic of priorities, because it's always something that's been hard for me. Right? People are like, oh, look at your time, and it's like, well, I work for 8 to 10 hours a day. And then I spend time with my family for 2 or 3.
Right.
That doesn't mean that I think that my work is 3 times more important than my family, right? Yeah. Or like even with like spiritual life, it's like, oh, like people say like if you're praying 30 minutes a day, like you're doing great, like you're in the upper echelon of people. But like, okay, so I pray 30 minutes a day, but then I work 8 to 10, or I play video games for 2. It's like you're telling me that, like it's always rubbed me the wrong way. And I finally heard you say something like, "Oh, that makes sense." Yeah. What do you got to say about priority?
Yeah, so it's exactly what you said. I think in our world, and even I remember like in grade school, we would do like priority projects. So go into the magazines and cut out the things that you like in your life, and then organize them as your top priority. And what we're told, what everybody knows that they're supposed to say, in a job interview or whatever, when you're asked this question is, oh yeah, God is my top priority. My family is next. My friends are after that, my work, and then hobbies, so on and so forth. But the more I contemplated that, the less I thought that was correct. And here's the reason why is exactly what you just said is like, if we rank our priorities by time, well, for all of us, God is probably going to be at the bottom.
Right.
But that being said, like you said, we have jobs. Like I can't go sit in the chapel for 14 hours a day because I'd get fired. My wife would be mad at me and my kids would be neglected.
Yeah, literally all the other things that are supposed to be priorities wouldn't go well.
Yeah, exactly.
Faith, family, finances, work. Like, yeah, exactly. It would fall apart.
Exactly. So kind of what I got to was, I don't think God wants us to be first on our list of priorities. What he does want is he wants to be incorporated into every priority that we have, every priority that's in our list. So he doesn't want our priority list to say God, family, friends, work, hobbies. He wants it to say God in my prayer life. He wants it to say, God, a part of my family, incorporated into my friends, God motivating my work life and my hobbies. That's what a true prioritized life looks like, in my opinion, is God incorporated into everything that you do, God motivating everything that you do and involved in every aspect of your life. I think that is the perfect way to prioritize your life, and the best way from a spiritual perspective to do so.
I love that so much, because it is something that, like, it just never sat well with me, but I couldn't articulate it. And I heard you say it. And I'm like, man, that's it. That's the answer I've been looking for. And the other part too is that, like, none of those things are separate, right?
Right.
Like, why do we take leisure time? Like, why do I play video games? So that I can, like, rest and relax, so that I can be rejuvenated, to be better with my family, to be better at work. Like, why do I work ultimately? To provide for my family, right? So, like, everything in it is all interlinked, and God, it permeates all of it. Well, Coach, I want to thank you for your time today. I wanted people to go check out the book "Fill Your Cup for Christ" by Coach Kramer Soderberg. And then I met you on Instagram. Is that where you want people to go find you?
Yeah. Instagram is where my main kind of Catholic ministry is. Like you mentioned, I don't think most college coaches are really open and vocal about their Catholic faith. And I try to be. I really am striving to do that. So you can find me at Instagram at A Catholic Coach is my Instagram account. And I just try to motivate, similar to what I do with my players. I try to, push my players to greatness on the basketball court, and I'm trying to help others kind of strive for greatness in the spiritual realm. So you can pick up my book, Fill Your Cup for Christ, on Amazon, and then follow me on Instagram. Love to see folks around.
And I've loved seeing like a lot of what you've talked about, that you've shared on Instagram.
Sure.
But even more recently, one of the funnier Catholic videos that I've seen posted, you did a parody of a bunch of stuff. I'm going to leave it at that. Guys, go follow him on Instagram, and you will laugh your tush off. I'll be right back.
Coming too. So
you got another one coming?
So
yeah. A little tease here for the radio.
There you go.
So, Coach, thanks for being here. Guys, I will be right back. Do not go anywhere. This commercial break is also a love note to our friend Matt Baker, who recently on Twitter said that he was getting, what do they call them, like sponsored ads on Twitter for an over 40 dating site. Well, if you are over 40, or if you're under 40 and don't want to be single at 40, sorry, Matt Baker, then you should try out CatholicMatch.com/Forte. You can hopefully find a future spouse. Someone who believes the same things as you, looks just as bad as you do. It's a match made in heaven over at CatholicMatch.com/Forte, where you can sign up for your free account today. We love you, Matt Baker.
Oh, yeah.
Welcome back to Forte Catholic. I am Taylor Stroll, and I am back with co-host for the day, Allison Marie Sullivan.
I like Marie.
I like Marie too. It just doesn't fit with Allison Sullivan.
Lene is just so completely random.
It's perfect for you.
Will you please have another baby and name it Lene?
No and no.
Fine.
A
dog. Even
even
nowhere.
worse. I'd rather have a kid. Oh man. So I saw this thing the other day, and I screenshot it, and I put it on here specifically for a note to talk about with you.
Okay.
Because I started reading it, and my first thought was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And it starts with this. The graphic says, replace sorry with thank you. So I didn't realize this. I thought I wanted to talk about this before even yesterday when I slept through what would have been our interview. I didn't say thank you. I said, I'm so sorry.
Right.
And they're telling me, instead of saying sorry, I'm late, or sorry, I slept in, say thank you for waiting. Like, thank you for being here. And at first I'm like, okay, this is interesting. I was like, maybe I'm wrong. Because in my, I've always been taught to say sorry. Like, okay, I'm sorry that I slept in. Can we reschedule, or whatever it was, right? The next one, it says, instead of saying sorry, I'm late, say thank you for waiting. Instead of saying sorry, I forgot, you say thank you for reminding me. And it says, what an incredible way to change your mindset and the mindset of those that you're apologizing to. And I think they're right, just not in the way that they think. I think it would change your mindset if I never apologized and just continued saying thank you. I think it's very strange. And it continues. The first comment, which is So as I'm going through this, I'm like, this is getting weirder and weirder and weirder, and I think this is wrong. I think it's just very manipulative. It's like,
It feels manipulative.
I'm gonna change my mindset and yours by not apologizing. I'm like, yeah, you'll change your mindset to angry.
Mhm.
The first comment is, instead of saying sorry for hitting you, say thank you for stopping my hand. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
Okay, well, I have thoughts.
Okay.
I don't think this advice is for you, Taylor.
I don't think it's for anyone.
Okay, because here's the thing with our culture is that being nice, it works, right? It's effective. It gains us affection. And so a lot of the, I'm sorry, is considered being nice. And so the issue here is that there are real people who have trouble asserting themselves. There are real people who have trouble being genuine. Okay. You, Taylor,
Those are the only two qualities I have.
are not one of those people. I mean, this advice isn't for you. Have you ever been in a situation where you have said, I'm sorry, and then realized in your own mind, in the back of it, perhaps, I'm not at all sorry for that. And I just said, I'm sorry.
Almost every time I say I'm sorry, which is why I don't say sorry often.
So you're very genuine. Okay. But I have noticed that I will often find myself apologizing. And when I look underneath it, it's like I'm 100% just trying to be agreeable in the moment. Right. And so then the agreeableness or the insistence on being agreeable, it becomes a habit. And then that habit is being disingenuous. And so I think it's really, really important that we not value pleasing people, being nice, pleasing people over telling the truth. Right. So like, I think it's a really good practice for people who struggle with this. Here's an example.
So you do think this is good?
I do. I think it's very good advice. Good advice. Okay, but so here's a tiny little example. When you think about telling the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, think about all the kinds of lies that excludes. If you're going to tell the truth, the whole truth, and then nothing but the truth, that covers a lot. So, for example,
this show would be 3 minutes long. And very boring.
Very, very boring. I disciple young women, and they come and they sit on my couch and they tell me their heartaches and they tell me about their parents and their boyfriends and whatever. And so then I will often notice that they'll say something along the lines of, oh, but it's fine. Or, oh, but I don't really care. Or whatever. And so I feel like my job as someone that they're confiding in and looking up to perhaps as a mentor is to get underneath a lot of the things that we say out of habit. And I'm like, but is it fine? Or do you really not care? Because I just don't think that's true. And then there's something about getting underneath the platitudes that allows us to examine a little deeper, but that also keeps me sharp. If I'm sitting on a couch mentoring young women to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, then I need to do that myself. And that was when this came to my mind, is that I just said I'm sorry and I'm not sorry. You know, so
are people ever sorry when they apologize?
Yes, Taylor. Most of us do have like sincere moments of remorse in our lives. Yes, that is a thing.
Interesting.
Oh my gosh. But I think that when you get underneath behaviors, especially repeated ones that are insincere, right, then you can start to look at what's guiding that. And I think that almost always that constant and insincere apologies reveal a desire to avoid conflict. To avoid conflict and to communicate the message that says, I'm not a threat. I'm not a threat. I don't want to cause trouble. I mean, I'm here, but like only barely. In the ways that I am here, I promise not to be troublesome. I promise to make things nice for you. There's that niceness again. And I think that when we get underneath that, so getting underneath constant I'm sorries reveals a desire to constantly please people and not cause trouble. And then when we get underneath that, I think that there's probably a lot of identity issues, a lot of worthiness issues, and maybe a little idolatry of affirmation.
Okay. Here's the thing, is that I agree with what you're saying. It doesn't apply to me at all, but I agree with what you're saying.
Right.
But I still have a problem with this picture, even after everything you
right.
said.
Uh-huh.
So, because what they're saying is, like, things that you should genuinely be sorry for.
Right.
Right? Like, the real examples they use, like being late.
I 100% you should apologize for wasting someone's time. I'm sorry.
Okay, so you don't say thank you then.
I
Thank you
don't-
for waiting.
No, because that's a moment of sincere remorse. You apologized to me yesterday. You were sorry that you had wasted my time.
I wasn't awake enough to have put up the barrier to not be sorry. Yes.
To manipulate you.
Yes. But okay, so I guess I'm trying to marry what you said with my problem with this being
Because it's
manipulative.
getting underneath motivation. Are you sorry or are you not sorry? Telling the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. If you're not sorry, don't apologize. Quit trying to pacify. And so what do you value? I value being credible. I want to be a credible person. I want to be a brave.
Incredible.
You are, Taylor. I want to be brave. Those are the things that I value. And I can't be credible or brave if I'm constantly telling lies about things I'm not sorry about. You know, so here's what this does. If we were in a meeting together, if we were in a business meeting and something kept coming up, I'm even going to make you a little bit of a hero here, where you understand something really well and you're having to explain it to me. Okay?
That's never happened.
Never, ever. I've got a jillion scenarios in my head that happened last week. Okay, but you're
Again,
trying to
not
explain
bringing up
something.
your age.
So instead of me saying, when I don't feel sorry because I don't think you're born knowing how to make a zip file, okay? So instead of me saying, I'm so sorry that I keep asking you this, or I'm so sorry that I need the instructions again, I can say, thank you so much for being patient with me. Thank you so much for explaining that again. That's a real moment where I'm not putting myself down. I'm not trying to, I don't know, like produce any fake guilt on your part. Of,
right. Like
you know,
you
like
shouldn't feel bad that like I grew up with a computer in my hand. Like that's not your fault.
And so you're acknowledging a moment of, is it discomfort? I don't know. There's like a moment, right? And you can acknowledge the moment one way or another. And I like acknowledging the moment. You're being patient with me. I need a little more help with something positive instead of, you know, I don't value being weak and submissive. I value being credible and brave.
So here's my other question, because I'm surprised. I thought we would agree on this, and we don't. And I think it's because we're very different people. But here's my next question, because the only thing that you said, I agree. Now that I've heard what you're saying, that like some people are like this and I am not, that it's a different experience.
Yes, right.
The only thing that you said that I actually disagree with, again, putting it on how like I live things, is I often have to apologize for things that I'm not sorry for, knowing that I should be sorry for them.
Okay.
And that's with people and with God. Like I go to confession and I'm like, I am heartily sorry for all these sins. And then I go do those sins that night. It's like, I'm not really heartily sorry. I know that I should be sorry. And I'm making the conscious effort to say that I'm sorry and try to go sin no more.
But,
and then even with people,
yeah,
it's like, even when I was like told growing up, and even like now, like I know apologizing when I do something wrong is the right thing to do. So even when it's like something that I actually should be apologizing for, there are often times where I don't feel sorry for it, but I know that apologizing is the right thing to do.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go back to the example of confession. I don't think it's any small thing. I don't think it's worth skimming over or passing over that just the desire to please the Lord pleases the Lord. So I'm sitting in confession and these are the things that I'm confessing and I'm supposed to feel heartily sorry for them. I don't, but look at me in confession and bringing them up. And I think that is really, really important. Likewise, if you're in a relationship that really matters to you and the harmony of it is very important.
All 5 of those friendships do matter to me.
But where I don't understand your experience quite the way that maybe I should, and maybe I don't feel remorse to the extent that I should in order for these words to, really have the appropriate amount of weight, but I do really care about our friendship. I do really care about this relationship. And so I'm going to do the thing. I think that's important. I think that says a lot.
Yeah. It's like the whole fake it till you make it thing. It's like, I think I have to apologize for things that I should be sorry for, that I'm not sorry for, so that eventually I will be sorry for doing those things.
Right. So there's like an added layer of, and I think that there's a respectful and a kind and even searching way to say, I know that I don't feel the thing I'm supposed to feel, but I really, really care about us. And so
all male relationships.
I want to, yeah. Well, but I want to make this right. It's not important to me to be right on the thing. It is important to me to be in harmony with you. And so I think the confession example still holds up perfectly. I mean, so just the desire to please the Lord pleases the Lord. Just the desire to maintain a healthy relationship makes it healthy.
Good.
Just say you're sorry, Taylor.
Thank you for walking me through this conversation.
And then
I apologize for nothing.
And then negating it all with just say you're sorry. Sheesh.
This is fascinating. I thought we would agree more, and we didn't. And I feel like I learned a lot about people who don't think like me.
Right.
And I think there are
that's
more
just
of you
it.
than there are more of
For
me.
sure.
Yeah.
You are a total outlier. Like you're a complete and total weirdo. We all know this. But knowing you're a weirdo is the first step to not being quite so weird. Just get it. Yeah.
Just like we talked about a few months ago.
But just bringing it a little further into the rest of us, Tay-Tay. Just.
So
hold on.
My takeaway from this conversation is that the next time I hit someone, I'm going to be like, "Thank you for stopping my hand."
Yeah,
That's what Allison Sullivan.
That's what she told me to say. Of course you will. But don't you know? You know that you know a group of people. You can picture them in your head of people that this is a problem for. You've experienced
I don't need to picture them in
them.
my head. They're right in front of me.
I am not that person. I've done it before, but it is not habitual. But like. You can picture
Canadians.
The personality. Yeah.
All of Canada.
Yes, all of Canada. That's great. But
what you have taught me today is that there are a lot of Americans who have that Canadian stereotype. And I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was all up north.
No, that's a real thing.
Well, everyone should be as confident for no reason as I am.
I don't know. That's dangerous. Nobody wants to be that far outlying.
Well, that's our show.
Bring it in.
That is Allison Marie Lene Sullivan. I'm Taylor Schroll, and we had a conversation. We hope that you enjoyed it. Goodbye. Thank you so much for watching or listening to today's episode. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I believe that you did. Otherwise, you wouldn't still be here, or you fell asleep and are just now waking up because I'm referencing it. But I really doubt that you could fall asleep to my voice, not because I'm incredibly entertaining, but because I'm very loud. So anyway, welcome back awake from your nap. The final thing that I want to tell you is that you should subscribe on YouTube. No matter where you are watching or listening to this, we have some things coming out on YouTube that are just on YouTube, like our A Catholic Perspective series of videos, one coming out every week for the foreseeable future. We're tackling a lot of Marvel stuff right now, talking about the Loki series, which will come out. That video will come out next week. We did one about my highlights and review of Falcon and Winter Soldier this past week. And just like we talked about on the show today, our Forte flashback series, which we started a couple weeks ago, kind of the origin story of all of our co-hosts. So we're having a blast on YouTube, putting out multiple videos a week. So head on over to youtube.com/Forte Catholic to subscribe today. Thanks for being here, guys. Y'all are awesome. Bye.